Hello, I'm Fire Commissioner Lloyd Ayers, and I want to welcome you to Freedom from Fire. Here at Freedom from Fire, we talk to many community activists, we talk to many of our community partners, but all experts who help the Philadelphia Fire Department give service to you. We want to make sure that we have you in the loop, making sure you understand who we work with, how they interact with the fire department, but more especially how they interact with you. Today, I'm going to have Acting Deputy Fire Chief Harry Bannan. He's going to be here talking about the Fire Marshal's office. And a little later on, you're going to meet Eddie Desamour. And he's the Executive Director of MIMIC, Men in Motion in the Community. But first, I'd like to talk with you about this spring that's coming upon us. And it's a good thing. We're really happy about it. Of course, we have so many things to consider. Earlier, we talked about changing your clock and changing your battery and changing your smoke alarm. We know that there are still a few folks out there that still have 9-volt batteries. We want you to understand that it's the law. You have to get a 10-year lithium battery powered smoke alarm. And it's important that you do that in order to keep your family safe. And it's an economic gain if you do it that way. It lasts for 10 years and you don't have to purchase batteries each and every year. And what about that? Daylight saving time. We had some type of a winter this year, one to remember, a lot of records, and unfortunately we had quite a few fires, but we want to say that fires are continuing to go down, but we believe that 0 is the goal. It should be, just like we say in our program, freedom from fire. Well, we want to talk about replacing extension cords. As we go into the spring season, it's a perfect time to change out all of those cords that you use on a temporary basis, and those that you use where you could have or you still yet may install a new outlet so that you don't have to use the cord in the first place. Remember, extension cords break down. Extension cords need room to breathe. You can't put them under rugs, and you must make sure that you don't put them where they're going to be getting chafed by furniture or walked over by traffic, normal traffic in the house. So you want to make sure that you stay safe. We had a lot of fires caused by due to electrical causes, extension cords, some of the power strips. We had people who lost their life this winter. So we want to make sure that you change those out and use them properly. Another thing, gasoline. We know that we're going to be starting up those gasoline-powered tools, taking care of the grass, taking care of the shrubbery, blowing all of the debris away from the sidewalks and things like that. So you want to make sure that you get rid of the gas, use fresh gas, don't use gas from last year. It keeps your appliances safe. Also, make sure that you utilize that gasoline safely, you store it safely, and gasoline power tools, well, we're talking about an adult activity. Don't allow the children to play with those tools. Again, coming into spring, we're putting away those kerosene heaters. Yes, I know you're still using kerosene heaters out there. We understand that if you use them safely, it is allowed in the city of Philadelphia under certain circumstances. So now, just like we told you going into the winter, you want fresh kerosene, K1 Kero, you want to dispose of the kerosene. If you take it back to the gasoline station, usually you can dispose of it. Also, listen up for the different opportunities that you can dispose of hazardous materials, working with, of course, our streets department. So we have certain dates, and you can find out if you dial 311 for that information and find out when you can dispose of those things like gasoline, kerosene, and get that out of your home. Again, clean Kero when you go into the winter, clean filters when you start to use those kerosene heaters. And I'm not advocating, I'm just saying those that have to use them, make sure that you use them safely. And roof safety, make sure you check that ladder before you climb up and clean those gutters out. We don't want any falls. We want to make sure that you stay safe. and make sure that they're serviceable. And don't forget, we have the mayor's cleanup. This is the 4th annual cleanup all over the city, and it's an opportunity for you to be safe in your home and be safe in your neighborhood. Okay, again, today we have our guest, that is Acting Deputy Chief Harry Bannan. He's the Chief Fire Marshal for the City of Philadelphia. And I also like to add that on May 2nd, we've got promotions coming up. And he won't be Acting Deputy Chief of the Fire Marshal anymore. He will be a full Eagle Deputy Chief here in the City of Philadelphia. It's the highest civil service rank that you can attain in the Philadelphia Fire Department, and it denotes a career service. So welcome on board to Freedom from Fire.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks a lot.
All right. One of the things I wanted to talk about is the Fire Marshal's office. We don't get an in-depth look at it all of the time. So what's the training that's required to become a fire investigator?
All the training in the Fire Marshal's office is based on a national standard established by the National Fire Protection Association. And that standard has a number. It's 1033. And it's called Qualifications for the Professional Standard of Fire Investigator. So everything we develop there is based on that standard. And that standard requires that we give them, what we have developed is a 320-hour course. Essentially, it's 2 months of training where a candidate is detailed or temporarily assigned in a fire marshal's office, because we don't just transfer you in. It may not work for you, and it may not work for us.
Right.
And then they have to meet 37 benchmarks. JPRs, job performance requirements. So as they go through their training, we fill in those JPRs, or job performance requirements, and make sure that they are able to perform those benchmarks because they're going to be doing them alone in the field once they're assigned. After that, if they're assigned, if we like their ethic, if it works for them and their family, they will then become assigned. And their training is just beginning then, because we begin to send them to training. It's not an option for them. We decide where they're going to go. Essentially, the first training we want to send them to is the National Fire Academy in Emmitsburg, Maryland.
Yes.
So for their origin and cause, it's a top shelf. It's the gold standard in origin and cause training. So they go there, and then we'll send them to various academies throughout the state and sometimes throughout the country. They'll attain a certain level, and then they will have to maintain that level throughout their career. Essentially, they'll go to 2 or 3 training courses a year for the rest of their career in the Fire Marshal's office.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, they become assistant fire marshals. So
Correct.
they become assistant to you.
Correct.
And they help the investigations, all types of, whether it's fires, even accidents, auto fires. What are some of the different occasions that they would have to come on site and start an official investigation?
Well, of course, any fire. We have certain benchmarks for when we'll send them. Certain fires, we send them immediately. For instance, an incendiary fire in an occupied building or dwelling. That is an automatic response from the Fire Marshal's office. We would call that a hot look. In other words, they're going to go while engine and ladder companies are still on the scene. They'll go on a cold look, which will be the next day if it's a fire under 30 minutes or less where there's no injuries. Any serious injury, of course, Fire Marshal responds. Any fire fatality, Fire Marshal responds. Any incendiary device with a witness, Fire Marshal will respond. Certain large loss fires, Fire Marshal will respond. A high-rise fire, Fire Marshal is going to go. So we investigate all fires and perilous incidents in the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, I heard you speaking about incendiary fires, going on coal fires. Now, what are the different types of causes of fires?
Well, essentially, we in Philadelphia have broken it down into 18 causes. Nationally, they use basically 4 standards, but that just is not going to work for us because we want to break it down, as you already said, into extension cords, non-permanent wiring, power strips. So those 18 causes are cooking equipment, open flame, which is a lighter, a match, a candle, for instance, an electrical appliance, an overheated motor, sparks, spontaneous combustion, an active nature, lightning strike. We've had several of those this year.
Yes.
But smoking, of course, is a cause. So they're just some of the causes that we use to break it down. The reason we want to break it down is because we take this information and we give it to fire prevention.
Okay.
And fire prevention bases where they're going to put the money based on the causes. So if you only have one of something a year and you have 280 of something, where are you going to put your money at? You're going to put your money where you can do the most good.
Absolutely. It follows our charter, you know, the fire, the investigation, then the passing on to prevention so that we can go educate the public, train our members to make sure that it doesn't happen again. That's the goal. So we're constantly trying to put the firefighters back in the training mode and not in the firefighting mode, getting to zero.
Absolutely. The impact we've had over the last 20 years on reduction in fires,
Yes.
fire injuries, and fire fatalities are tremendous. I would have never guessed when I joined this department 28 years ago that we'd only have 24 fire fatalities last year. You couldn't have told me that 28 years ago, and that's because of code enforcement, investigation, and prevention.
Well, this year, we know right now we're looking at a civilian fire death count of 12. Last year we had 14 on this same date. So we're looking to do a better job. We're employing our public to make sure that they stay the course, doing all of the things to stay safe, so we can keep that number in a downward trend. So that's important. So what was the leading cause of fire so far this year?
So far this year, it's cooking equipment. We have 84 fires due to cooking equipment, and that is unattended cooking, combustibles placed too close to the stove, you know, burners left on, that kind of thing. The second leading cause is open flame. Candles are a problem. You know, matches, lighters, things of that nature. And the third leading cause is non-permanent wiring, as you already mentioned. It's extension cords, it's power strips, it's improperly rated extension cords and improperly used extension cords.
Yeah, that's something else. When we start talking about identifying what the cause is or the origin and cause, explain that process. What is that investigation?
Well, the investigator
process
has 4 questions. He has, what is the ignition source? What is the first material or fuel ignited? What's the act that brought those two things together? And where did the fire go from there? And he uses a scientific process, which is a 7-step process to determine that. One is recognize the need. Well, a fire's occurred, we have a need there. It's then define the problem. Where is the origin? Where's the area it started at? He'll begin to gather data. He's collecting evidence. He'll analyze that data. He'll begin to look at the evidence. Then he'll start to develop a theory of how the fire could have occurred. He'll test that theory. In other words, he'll begin to argue with himself. And then he'll select the best theory. So when he does that, he arrives on location, we secure the scene. You know, that's big for us right now. We want to secure the scene. That scene is essentially a crime scene until we say it's not a crime scene. So he'll limit entry, non-uniformed, uniformed as well. We'll start to limit the entry. He'll go in, he'll determine the floor that the fire started on. Then he'll narrow it down to the room that the fire started on. Then he will begin to narrow it down to the area that the fire started. He'll grid the room. He'll treat it like an archaeological dig. He'll begin to sift through debris. He'll quarter the room and he'll start in one area. And he will just methodically go through the debris piece by piece, looking for evidence. And he'll photograph everything.
Well, that's fantastic. I know, I remember going through as an acting fire marshal, assistant fire marshal myself many years ago, working in the fire marshal office, how tedious that work is. And now our men and women that work in the fire marshal's office, he or she has a great process that they can go through. It's been developed, and like you said, it is something else. Now, I'll just briefly, When I come on the fire ground now, every once in a while, I'll see our dog out making sure that they take care of
Chance.
businesses. Yeah, Chance. So when is it necessary to utilize Chance, our fire investigation dog?
Anytime we suspect that an accelerant's been used, we're going to take Chance through the scene and see if he alerts. And that's when the fire's been started. There has been a fire and we think an accelerant's been used, but also when we suspect an accelerant has been used, but there was no fire. There was an attempted arson, for instance.
Very important.
We'll run Chance through. And Chance responds on all fatalities. Chance responds on many commercial fires. And he also responds at the request of the assistant fire marshal on scene. If he requests Chance, we notify his handler, and Chance responds.
Well, Chance was looking mighty good. I know he's eating good and doing good work, so the handler's doing a good job with him, so I appreciate it. And I want to thank you for speaking with us today and allowing our audience out there to understand what the Fire Marshal Office is all about. And right now, don't touch that dial. I'll be right back with you, and we're going to have Mr. Eddie Desamour from MIMCI. Stay tuned.
More than muscle. It's about inner strength. So I push myself. That's why I serve in the United States Coast Guard. I train with the best. A team that shares my drive and commitment. We collect intelligence, guard our shores against drug smugglers, and keep our waterways safe, because our nation expects more.
If you expect more, maybe you were born ready. Find out at GoCoastGuard.com.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Nicole Malakowski, a U.S. Air Force Fighter Squadron Commander and the first woman pilot with the United States Air Force Aerial Demonstration Team. My fellow airmen and I know that each of us plays a huge part in our victories, whether in the air or on the ground. We couldn't accomplish our mission without using everyone's skills to reach our goals. Embracing our differences and working together is also what has made America strong. Thank you for your support, and remember, our strength lies in our diversity. This message brought to you by the United States Air Force.
The environment is my passion. Every day, I live for the outdoors and all of its challenges. That's why I enlisted in the Coast Guard. Now, I serve to protect the environment and defend my country. It's like I was born for this.
Were you born ready for a greater challenge? Find out at GoCoastGuard.com.
We have a job to do out here today. To be a winning team, you have to work like a winning team. My team depends on me. And my team is 50,000 strong. Looks like a lot of work's going into this. This is what it feels like to be part of a team. A winning team. The action team.
Get in on the action at actionteam.org. Are you in?
Hello, I'm Fire Commissioner Lloyd Ayers, and welcome back to Freedom from Fire. And right now I have with me Mr. Eddie Desamour from MIMIC. Welcome, Eddie, and thank you for being part of our show and helping to explain who you are and what your organization does to our viewers. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What is MIMIC exactly?
MIMIC is primarily a volunteer organization based with folks really just trying to get involved in their community. It's doing prevention and intervention with at-risk youth in North Philadelphia and the West Kensington area. Pretty much providing intervention services and prevention services to those who are most at risk to violence or drugs.
Okay. It sounds like a great vision and objective. Now, what are some of the programs that MIMIC is involved with?
One of the main programs that we roll out is something called the Mimic Challenge. We most likely go into about a after-school program and say, hey, give us some kids that you want us to focus on. So we'll get about 12 to 15 kids, and we'll roll out a program which is 12 to 15 weeks, and it's based on just life skills, conflict resolution, self-esteem, critical thinking, think before you react, and also the main topic, snitching versus speaking up.
That is fantastic. I was looking at a program just recently, and they talked about when you're changing, because that's what you're doing. You're changing our youth out there. Just the mental process on making that intervention on decision to go the right way or the wrong way. So that's powerful stuff.
No, most definitely. It's just about the concept and the way of your mindset. You know, they're thinking about how folks do it in the streets, and we're trying to say to them, hey, you can create your own option and make the positive choice.
Yes, I heard what you talked about with the number of children. How many members does Mimic currently have?
Mimic currently has 11 members, but 25 volunteers.
Okay, so they're from all over the community, different walks of life, different jobs, things like that?
You hit it right on the button. Everyone's welcome. So if anyone wants to get involved, they're more than welcome to get involved with Mimic.
So with that recruitment, I'm pretty sure that that's a challenge, finding people that really want to focus in and help the community and make that their main focus as far as volunteering.
Yeah, most definitely. Not really a challenge, but just reminding folks that they can give back. Everyone has a skill set. Everyone does. Okay,
so how can someone become a Mimic member?
You can become a Mimic member by reaching us on our website, www.mimicphilly.org.
Oh, okay. You want to say that one more time?
www.mimicphilly.org.
All right, fantastic. So what has been the reaction from the community, seeing Mimic around, hearing who you are, what you're doing, seeing your interaction with the children? What's been the community response?
The community response has been really great because they see their own working in the community. I think it's like a mirror looking at itself. And they pretty much enjoy that, say, hey, that's one of us doing something positive.
Okay, as far as the community understanding and seeing who you are, getting your name out there, what's your vision for Mimic as far as the future?
Our vision is for the young folks that we're working with now to take over, take control, and then pass that baton and keep pushing that positive and be a role model. Say, hey, mimic this.
Mimic this. I like that.
Yes, sir.
And the vision, when you're saying handing it over to the children that you're working with now, moving up, that's absolutely long term, and it creates that pull that's needed for an organization to sustain itself and to maintain the vision in the community. You know, letting those children see those footsteps that they're going to follow in. So that's fantastic. So how long have you been in the community? How long has Mimic been who they are?
Mimic's been around for about 7 years.
7 years.
7 years in running, and we're still here. We actually just finally got our own building, finally, at 2536 North Front Street. So.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask that. So now you get a building, you have to maintain it, you have to furnish it, all of those things. Fundraising, what do you do for fundraising, and how can people help Mimic out?
Once again, hitting up that website, we do have a PayPal, and you can donate or mail to us at our building, or at 2536 North Front Street to really support. Just come on out and find a way to support. We're not just only looking for donations, we're looking for anyone to come out and tutor, help our folks with homework.
Okay, you're looking for the time, the talent, and all of those?
Everything.
All
everything.
right, that's very important stuff. We want to say we hope that Mimic is a very successful program. The more successful programs we have in the community, like Mimic, whether it's located in your area, in West Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, the more opportunities we'll have to give service to our youth. So I want to say hats off to Mimic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really
Thank
powerful.
you for having me. Thank you.
Well, one of the things that I'd like to do is take the fire safety pledge. we asked people to take the pledge that they would stay fire safe and risk safe within their home. So we always challenge our viewers to do that so that they'll be fire safe, that they'll be lessen the risk within their homes. They won't have the slips, the falls, and all of those things that causes a detour or causes an intervention, the wrong type of intervention in their lives. So we want to make sure that we give them the pledge. And I want you to help me.
Yes, sir.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
If you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I love my family and I am responsible for their safety. Therefore, I pledge the following. I pledge to have at least one working smoke alarm on each level of my home. I pledge to test my alarms as recommended and replace my alarms with new lithium battery-powered smoke alarms when needed. I pledge that every family member will sleep with their bedroom door closed. I pledge to develop and practice a home escape plan. I pledge that if I cannot afford smoke alarms, I will call the non-emergency number 311 or visit www.phila.gov/311. All this I do solemnly pledge. Well, Eddie, I want to say thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to say freedom from fire. That's what it's all about. We had Deputy Chief Harry Bannan here, and of course, we had today one of the greatest persons out there in the community, our volunteers, giving that help.
Thank you.
Mimic.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. God bless.